A fast food restaurant can serve hundreds, sometimes thousands of customers in a single day. People walk in, order a burger, fries, and a drink, pay a relatively small amount of money, and leave a few minutes later. So it looks like an incredibly simple business. Sell cheap food, serve lots of people, keep the difference. But there's a problem. A restaurant doesn't get to keep all the money customers spend. Before a single dollar becomes profit, that money has to pay for food, workers, rent, electricity, equipment, packaging, advertising, delivery fees, maintenance, and dozens of other expenses. So how does a business selling relatively inexpensive meals actually make money? The answer is surprisingly simple. Volume, speed, pricing, and cost control. And the most successful fast food restaurants have turned those four things into a highly efficient money-making machine. Let's start with where the money actually comes from. Every fast food restaurant has one obvious source of revenue: food, burgers, chicken, pizza, fries, sandwiches, breakfast, desserts, and drinks. But the interesting part is that not every item is equally valuable. A customer might walk into a restaurant planning to spend $7, but then they see a combo meal. For a few dollars more, they can get fries and a drink. Then they upgrade the size. Maybe they add a dessert. Suddenly, a $7 purchase becomes a $12 or $15 transaction. This is one of the most important ideas in fast food. The restaurant isn't only trying to get more customers, it's trying to increase how much each customer spends. Because if a restaurant serves 1,000 customers in a day, increasing the average order by just a couple of dollars can create thousands of dollars in additional daily revenue. And drinks are especially interesting. A fountain drink may cost the restaurant relatively little compared with the price the customer pays. The same is true for many sides, sauces, and add-ons. That's why restaurants constantly offer extras. Would you like fries? Would you like to make that a combo? Would you like a larger drink? Would you like dessert? Each individual upgrade may seem small, but multiplied across thousands of customers, those small decisions can become a major source of revenue. And this brings us to one of the biggest secrets of the fast food business: speed. Fast food isn't called fast food because the food is simply easy to cook. It's fast because the entire business is designed around moving customers through the system as quickly as possible. Imagine two restaurants. Restaurant A serves 100 customers in an hour. Restaurant B serves 200. If both restaurants have similar average order values, Restaurant B has the potential to generate roughly twice as much sales from the same hour of operation. That's why drive-thrus are so important. A restaurant doesn't necessarily need a huge dining room to increase sales. It can serve customers through cars. One customer orders, another is paying, another is waiting for food, another is leaving. The entire process becomes a production line. And every minute matters, because a restaurant has a limited number of hours each day. If the kitchen is slow, customers wait. If customers wait too long, fewer people can be served. And fewer customers means less revenue. So fast food companies invest heavily in kitchen layouts, standardized recipes, digital ordering systems, drive-through technology, and employee training. The goal is simple: serve more customers without increasing costs at the same rate. But generating revenue is only half the equation. Now comes the difficult part: controlling costs. Food is one of the biggest expenses. A restaurant has to buy meat, chicken, bread, potatoes, vegetables, cooking oil, cheese, sauces, drinks, packaging, and countless other supplies. And food prices can change. If the price of an important ingredient rises, the restaurant has three choices: raise prices, accept lower margins, or find ways to reduce costs somewhere else. This is why large restaurant chains have a huge advantage. They can purchase enormous quantities of ingredients. A small independent restaurant might buy supplies from local distributors at relatively high prices. A massive chain can negotiate large contracts because it's buying for hundreds or thousands of locations. That scale can make a major difference. But food isn't the only major expense. There is labor. Someone has to take the order. Someone has to prepare the food. Someone has to clean the restaurant. Someone has to manage employees. Someone has to receive deliveries. and someone has to make sure the entire operation keeps moving. Labor can become expensive very quickly. That's why fast food restaurants obsess over productivity. How many orders can one employee handle? How quickly can the kitchen prepare an order? How many workers are needed during the lunch rush? Can technology reduce repetitive tasks? The objective isn't simply to have fewer employees. It's to get as much productive output as possible from every labor hour. And then there's one expense that customers rarely think about: real estate. A fast food restaurant needs a location, and location can determine everything. A restaurant beside a busy highway can have completely different economics from one hidden on a quiet street. A location near offices might become extremely busy during lunch. A location near a school might become busy after classes. A restaurant near a major intersection can capture thousands of passing drivers. The building itself also matters. Some restaurants operate from relatively small spaces. Others invest heavily in large buildings, parking lots, kitchens, and drive-through lanes. And this is where the business model gets even more interesting, because some of the biggest fast food companies aren't simply restaurant operators. They're also franchisors. Instead of owning and operating every location themselves, a company can allow independent franchisees to operate restaurants under its brand. The franchisee usually invests substantial money to open and operate the restaurant. They pay fees and, depending on the agreement, ongoing royalties or other payments to the franchisor. The franchisor provides the brand, systems, training, technology, marketing, and operating standards. This creates a powerful model. The company can expand its brand across thousands of locations without personally funding and operating every restaurant. And that changes the economics dramatically. But there's another major source of revenue: advertising. Think about how often you see fast food advertisements: television, YouTube, social media, billboards, apps, promotions, limited time meals, celebrity collaborations. Every campaign has one goal: get more people to think about the restaurant and eventually place an order. Large chains can spend enormous amounts on advertising because they're operating at massive scale. If an advertising campaign brings millions of additional transactions, even a small increase in sales per location can become significant across the entire system. And then there's technology. Modern fast food is becoming increasingly digital. Customers can order through apps. They can use self-service kiosks. They can order online. Restaurants can use software to track inventory, predict demand, schedule employees, and monitor sales. This matters because better information can reduce waste. If a restaurant knows that Friday evening will be extremely busy, it can prepare accordingly. If demand is lower than expected, it can avoid preparing unnecessary amounts of food. Every wasted ingredient is money thrown away. And in a business where margins can be relatively thin, thousands of small savings can become meaningful. Delivery is another revenue opportunity. Customers who don't want to visit the restaurant can order through delivery platforms or the restaurant's own system. That creates additional sales. But delivery also introduces another problem: fees. If a third-party delivery platform takes a percentage of the order, the restaurant may generate more revenue while keeping less profit from each transaction. So the restaurant has to determine whether the additional sales justify the additional cost. And this reveals something important about fast food. Revenue is not profit. A restaurant could generate millions of dollars in sales and still struggle financially. Imagine a restaurant generates $2 million in annual revenue. That sounds enormous. But then the business has to pay for food, labor, rent, utilities, insurance, repairs, equipment, packaging, technology, marketing, taxes, delivery fees, and potentially franchise-related expenses. After everything is paid, only a portion of the original sales remains. That's the money the owner actually cares about: profit. And this is why the best fast food operators focus on the entire system. They don't ask only, how can we sell more burgers? They ask, how can we sell more meals while keeping food costs under control? How can we serve customers faster? How can we increase the average order? How can we reduce waste? How can we use technology to improve productivity? How can we get customers to come back? Because a customer who visits once is valuable. A customer who comes back every week is much more valuable. And that's why loyalty programs, mobile apps, promotions, limited time products, and consistent branding are so important. The restaurant isn't just selling today's meal, it's trying to create a habit. Come here for breakfast. Come back for lunch. Stop here after work. Order through the app next time. The more frequently customers return, the more valuable each customer becomes over time. And when you combine that with thousands of locations, the numbers become enormous. One restaurant might serve hundreds of customers. A large chain can have thousands of restaurants. Each restaurant generates sales. Each location buys supplies. Each location employs workers. Each location pays operating expenses. And the company earns money through the combination of restaurant operations, franchising, fees, royalties, and other revenue streams. That's the real power of the fast food business. It's not one giant transaction. It's millions of small transactions happening every single day. A burger here, a coffee there, a combo meal at lunch, a drive-through order after work, a delivery order at night. Individually, each purchase looks insignificant. At massive scale, they become a multi-billion-dollar business. And that is the biggest lesson. Fast food restaurants don't become profitable simply because burgers are cheap to make. They become profitable when they can sell a huge number of meals, increase the amount each customer spends, control food and labor costs, use space efficiently, move customers quickly, and bring those customers back again and again. The burger is the product, but the real business is the system behind it. And the companies that master that system can turn millions of small purchases into enormous amounts of revenue. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want to understand how other everyday businesses actually make money, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because the next time you walk into a fast food restaurant, you won't just see a burger, you'll see a business model.